All right, I am back. I'm going to apologize in advance for any shakiness, but I'm going to make this really, really quick. All right, I shared in my first video that I have compartmental baskets underneath one of the areas that I use when I'm working in my notebooks. So I'm going to grab my center basket and we're going to jump right into it. Okay, so the first thing that I do when I start pulling out writing is I take out my traveler's notebook. Sometimes I leave the makeshift cards on there that just kind of titles what they are. I don't really need them still, but they're just still on there. This is a traveler's notebook, and for those of you who have never seen a traveler's notebook is just simply a piece of leather with an elastic around it, which allots for you to put smaller notebooks or tablets in the inside of it. All right, so inside of my notebook, I have one that is entitled 1 Minute Devotions. The second one is entitled Jesus Calling. And the third one is Sunflower. There are 3 others, but they are not a part of what I do in the morning routine. This one is Pinterest Ideas. The other one is Psalms. And the last insert is Proverbs. So for obvious reasons, Psalms and Proverbs are 2 particular books in the Bible in which I pull out specific scriptures that I like or that resonate with me. And then Pinterest, I'll write down some ideas or transfer them from a bullet list of something that I want to use later. All right, so these 3 resources, 3 books that I write in, they come from these resources. The first one is 1 Minute Devotions. It's by Carolyn Larson. And shout out to my future daughter-in-law if she's watching. She has it. She showed it to me the other day, and I was just so tickled. I didn't have the heart to tell her, I do this in the morning too. And the second one is Jesus Calling. And the third one is Daily Wisdom to Satisfy the Soul. So I use these 3 in the mornings. And matter of fact, I'll work a little backwards here. So you see at the top, I have a little tab. Y'all, this is unedited. I don't have time for all of that. And basically, this tells me where my page is going to start. So pretty much what I do is I will read the title. And after I read the title, I'm going to zoom in on here a little bit. It has a scripture. Let's see if I can make it clearer. No, if I can't make it clearer. But anyway, this particular scripture is James 1:17. So what I would do is I would write down the scripture. I would read what the author is saying about the scripture and how they have interpreted the scripture. And then I will pull out some bullet words from that, and I will use that to make my own connections. And again, because this is a sunflower, sunflowers are my favorite flowers, I entitled this booklet Sunflower. And I'm going to do something with the first page, so I always leave that blank for decoration. So these are just a few inserts that I've done, and it's based from the page. So see how here for this particular one, it starts out with Psalm, and then after I write the scripture, I'll come down underneath it, and then I'll write some type of reflection that I got from it. So I'll read this one quickly. In Psalms 90:14, it says, "O satisfy us early with your mercy, that we may rejoice and be glad all our days." So my bullet note here says, when you're satisfied in Jesus, rejoicing is present in your life. Living according to God's promises brings great joy. So this is what I gleaned from this. So if you go down to the second one, and sometimes I date them, sometimes I don't, because we're at a new year, And why this says 17, I don't know. See what happens when you're doing things live? This starts out with the title, again, Count Your Blessings, and then it gives a scripture, so forth, and so on in here. And so far it's working well. All right, so since I'm working backwards, here we go to Jesus Calling. So again, title. Here's the reference book that I use from here. I'll write the title here. This says Relax in My Healing Presence. Let's see if I can turn to that one quickly. Da, 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 da. Okay, so here we go. Relax in my healing presence. Boy, this really is not clear. But anyway, so I read this, and then I actually read what the words are about it, and then I actually turn to the scripture, and I read the scripture in it. And then after I read the scripture, I go back to my notes, and I start writing in here. Okay, and now we're going to the first one. The first one is 1 Minute Devotions. That's the pink book. Open it up. And this little sticky tells me this is where I'm going to start next. And some previous ones that I've done just to show you what that looks like. All right. Da, da, da. I may have to get me a tripod, but I'm not sure I'm going to be doing this more than just this once. Okay, so this title is Important versus Urgent, and here is the scripture, Proverbs 19 and 17. So I read the scripture, then I write the scripture down, and after I read and write down the scripture, I write down what that scripture means to me based on the devotion that was included in this booklet. All right, so this one was titled Important versus Urgent. So there you have the title, here's your scripture, and here's the devotion. And again, you glean from it what you will. All right, so these are the 3 resources that I use in the morning. And then, of course, my Bible. So then I just simply place the traveler's notebook here, back in the back. And in addition to these resources, of course, I have my prayer, I have my quiet time, and this takes me about 30 minutes. I often come back to this very same traveling little caddy at the end of the day because I also do daily gratitudes. It's just a quick peek at what it looks like, and they're dated, but I don't necessarily focus on the date, but it is helpful to keep you on track. And I have several of these, and most of the ones that I've already used I like to give to other people. So that's where I started at today. The second one is joy, daily joy. And sometimes I'll write down my collections from those. So this I do generally at the end of the day. And this is what this notebook looks like. Sometimes I write down quotes. I don't have any entries in here yet because I haven't started the new book for this year. And the second one is joy that goes with this book. Daily joy. And then gratitude and reflection. And I really like the world travel theme, so I just made all the notebooks concurrent. And then this is for my collection and lists. And believe it or not, this is actually an old world atlas. And I'm a fan of reusing. So I don't plan on traveling all over the world, but this is where I write down my collection of lists, and I actually use a Sharpie to write on them. And maybe at a later date I'll show you some of the old ones that I've used, and if you're interested I might share more on how you can build collections. Alright, so that's that. And just a sneak peek, this Traveler's Notebook pretty much goes with me during the day when I'm at work. I am a fan of Verse of the Day. My father sends them out faithfully every day, and then I also subscribe to some that come on my phone. So when those verses of the day come, I just jot them down. Sometimes I'll do them throughout the day on my lunch break, or if I have time to do them, but typically they're just scriptures. I read the scripture, sink it into my spirit, and here's just a collection of them. Also some books that I have gotten have had scriptures in them, so I just record different scriptures and I write them in here. No rhyme or reason or no particular favorite time to do that. I just do them, and I like to have them with me. I actually got this from someone in the planner community who actually, as part of her faith journal, she includes Our Daily Bread. Those of you who are familiar with Our Daily Bread, this is a very old one. I don't always get the printed copies and get an opportunity to read them, but I do like to keep this in here, and I read them, and they're available to have when I want to read them, so they're just available. And then here is my journal. I have just recently started this journal with the new year. And in my journal, I kind of call this my journal on the go rather. And this is dated. Here's just a few birthdays, significant months, things that happen in the months. And here I just write down my thoughts for the day. It's usually not anything that's really heavy or serious, just a record of my day. All right, so that's as far as I've gotten this year, and like I said, this one stays with me. And then I also, for those times when you need to access all of these passwords and codes, I have a code or access little booklet that I can, take with me to different places and pull them out as I need them. All right, so now you have a look at the Traveler's Notebooks, writing utensils, resources, whatever you want to call it. This is part of my everyday routine. Thank you for watching.